Welcome everyone to this particular video where we're going to do a demonstration of a process that is found through neuro-linguistic programming called timeline. And I'm working today with Nathan Segal, and we're going to be doing this particular process for a problem that Nathan has had for a long time. And Nathan's been quite willing and glad to get rid of this problem, but better still, allow you to actually watch him go through the process. This will take some time. However, the learnings for you, if you're a coach or a practitioner, or you personally want to remove some issues or problems, this will be profound, I promise you. So welcome, Nathan, to today. And what I'd like you to do is, for everyone here, I'd like you to state what is the problem that you would like to work on.
The number one problem I've been dealing with is a fear of earning money, because if I do, there have been certain people who have threatened me with suing me. And my major fear is if I lose it, I won't be able to gain it back. I've also been terrified of earning money, because if I do, I've been threatened repeatedly about having it taken away.
One thing that you can often ask your client when they state a story, and that, most problems turn into a story, is what you want to be able to do as a practitioner is you want to really hone it in and identify it in the best possible way so that it is easy to work on. So one good question to ask, how is that a problem for you, Nathan?
I'm terrified. I don't feel safe. Even though I'm very far away from the people who could actually harm me in Mexico, in a small town, I still feel afraid. Even though I know it's irrational, I'm still afraid.
Okay. So the problem is you're afraid, and specifically you're afraid to make money.
Yes, because if I do and these people find out, they've threatened me with taking everything I have.
What Nathan is saying right now is that he is terrified of making money. This is essentially an unconscious process that we go through. It's called self-sabotage, where what you'll do is, my guess, Nathan, is that you'll earn money, but you'll get rid of it fairly quickly.
Or actually, what's even worse is have tremendous difficulty earning it. I've been in poverty for years because of what happened.
Right.
I wound up on welfare. I was homeless for a while. I came very close to dying on the streets, and this is why. And even on the streets, I was terrified.
Okay, so how long has this been a problem for?
It started in 2009 when I received a demand letter from Revenue Canada, basically demanding a large amount of money that I didn't have and threatening to destroy me completely if I didn't pay the debt. And then there was also the other people who were threatening me as well at the same time. And what happened is I collapsed emotionally. I couldn't take it anymore. And I collapsed. It triggered amnesia. It triggered a whole bunch of major problems. And in my mind at the time, I made the decision to stop earning money. I figured if I drove myself into poverty, it would be the only way I could escape Revenue Canada and these other people. If I had no money, they couldn't touch me. Okay,
so you took this very unconscious process of avoiding earning money, and if you did get money, to squander or release it.
Yeah.
But it's actually turned quite conscious. Like, you are consciously ensuring that you don't have any money. Yeah. Or money, enough money for others to take it from you.
Yeah. I've deliberately kept myself in poverty so they can't touch me.
Now, the thing that we want to be able to do, which more so is at the end of this process, is, of course, we want to get a result for Nathan. However, both you and I are not going to see the results of this work because it can take time to create money. one of the things that we want to be able to do at the very outset of starting this process is we want to be able to actually find out how Nathan will know that the work that we've done today actually has a positive result. So what we'll ask Nathan is, how will you know if this problem has gone?
I'll feel a release. There are many different ways I could feel it, but one time I remember it was just a visual image of two watch mainsprings unwinding in my mind in different directions. It took about 2 or 3 seconds. When it was done, it was over. But typically, I'll feel a release in my body.
Okay.
Or something will line up inside me and I'll know.
Okay, so that is a feeling inside. So Nathan would expect to feel a release from, squandering money or rejecting money.
Yes.
Now, I would like to go a little bit further than that. I would also like to get some material evidence, something that proves that the problem is completely gone. So what would you expect to see or experience?
A door opening of some sort, some offer coming through from somebody of money. I don't really know. But that would be the most obvious thing that would come to mind. Something that would happen later, maybe today, tomorrow, the next day, where something shows up that indicates to me, this has worked. I can see it. I don't know what that's going to be. I can't tell you.
Okay. Now, one thing that you'll often find is when you're working with someone with a problematic situation, they're not going to be very positive in that they're not going to really see an incredible outcome. They're not going to feel the feelings of having the outcome because we haven't done any of the work as yet. We're just kind of setting it up, getting it ready to do the work. But what we want to be able to do is make sure that our client has a bit of an idea of what sort of evidence will show up that proves that they have solved this problem. So Nathan, you would expect that there would be offers coming to you. You would expect that you would be making some money. Would you also expect that you would see money landing in your bank account, for example, or anything along those lines?
Yeah, definitely. I'm open to anything that comes my way because I know that I can't predict any of this. And the only way to do this is to go through it and see what happens. And I have had things like that happen in the past where an offer will come out of nowhere, and a really good one sometimes. And it's just like, wow, where'd that come from?
Okay, excellent. So would you also, Nathan, be open? Now, I know this might take some days, it might take some weeks, it might even take some months. Who knows? As you say, there's no prediction here. However, would you be open to adding at the end of this what happened as a result of today's process?
Sure.
Okay, excellent. We're going to typically do a process that I find is very, very helpful in getting rid of stuff from the past, because our past often predicts our present, and who we are being in the present will, of course, predicate our future. So if you can change the past, quite often you can actually change the future. So we're not literally changing the future, we're just changing how Nathan is coding and storing in his neurology what happened in the past. So this particular process that we're going to take Nathan through is a very simple process. It doesn't sound that way when you're listening, but it is in fact a very simple process, and I'll explain the process quite simply. I might even add a diagram here to show you. But essentially what we're going to do is we've identified the problem. Now what we're going to do is we're going to identify when the problem began. Now, most people won't consciously know this. As I go through the process, you'll see how quickly we can discover when it began and how we do that. So we'll go back into the past. Once we're in the past at that event, We're going to go around and around the event to get some data, get some information from it. Then we're going to do what's known as a disassociation. We're going to get Nathan to rise up above the event, have a look at the event, but look for a lesson or a learning or something that they didn't get back when they were experiencing it. This is often an aha for people. This is often also what we know in coaching as a reframe. So this will reframe the situation into a positive rather than a negative. Now, our brain usually thinks like a computer in zeros and ones. It's either negative or it's positive. And so when we revert this issue and we turn it in from a negative to a positive, then our energy cannot go down and sink or get depressed or perpetuate the pattern as we did before, because the problem is now a positive. Then what we'll do is get the person to go back down to the problem again, just to test to see whether it still has that negative charge associated with it. And if it doesn't, then we will get them to move to the next event, if there was another event, and maybe another and another. And, you know, sometimes you'll see another 3 events, sometimes 4. The record holder for me as a coach is, I think, about 9 events. And, you know, most people after, you know, dropping that first event, usually the second, sometimes the third, it's done. It's clear, and the person can continue on with a whole new patterning in their neurology. So once that happens, is then you do what is known as a future pace. That means that they will go into the future and they will begin to see the future differently than they saw it before. And that's an important part of the process equally, because it's a complete reframe, because they're now seeing the future in a completely different way. Now, if you can get a person to see the future in a completely different way, then you have created the opportunity for that to happen. Now, it might not necessarily happen the way that they imagine it or see it now. However, they will move more positively towards the future. And I found this process to be one of the biggies in neuro-linguistic programming that can make a massive, massive change with people. I've seen people get from depression to not depression in one session. That's the record, by the way. Some take 5, some take 10, some take more sessions, but I guarantee that this process can actually get rid of things like depression. It can also get rid of things like anxiety. You know, people who have anxiety responses to the world. Equally, it can change how you see yourself. It can change your confidence. It can lift it. It can do so many things, this particular technique. So let's get into the process so you can watch, listen, and hopefully learn. And, you know, this is really key and really important, I think, to turn people's lives around. If everyone was doing this, what would the world look like? So, Nathan, what we're going to do is we're going to get you to remember the very first time that this happened, the very first time. So what I want you to do is just trust your unconscious, completely trust your unconscious. And I'm going to ask you some questions, and that is, I don't even want you to think about it. I just want you to answer. Let your unconscious responses serve you here. So the question I'm going to ask, this problem, did that happen in this lifetime or a previous one? First answer, don't think.
This one.
This one. Now, why I say a past life, some people believe in past lives. For some people, it's a metaphor, but sometimes that can have a deep, deep hold on us. So it happened in this lifetime. Next question, now that it happened in this lifetime, you want to ask, did it happen in the womb or after? First answer, don't think about it.
After.
So it happened after. If it happened in the womb, you might ask how many months? You know, was it, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, right up to perhaps 9 months? but it happened outside of the womb. So it happened to you at a specific age. I want that number just to come out from your unconscious. So give me that number. Don't think about it.
10.
10. Okay. So what we now have is 10 years old. So we're going to take Nathan back to when he was around 10 years old. Sometimes it works out that they were 9 or 8 or 11 or 12, but at least the mind has got an idea of where it might have happened. You know, maybe the house they lived in at the time, or maybe the neighborhood, maybe the friends that they had around them at the time. So it gives the mind a point to go to. So now Nathan now has that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to do too much talking now other than working with Nathan. So that's the end of the training. Let's get into the process. So Nathan, what I want you to do now is I want you to go all the way back. Just rise up above now. Begin to see the floor below you beginning to disappear as you go higher and higher, way, way, way up above now. And as you go higher and higher, way, way up above now, I want you to now allow yourself, let your unconscious take you all the way back to when you were 10 years old. And I want you to see what you saw. I want you to hear what you heard. I want you to feel the feelings of being back there now and know, and absolutely know, that this was the very first event. And just trust your unconscious as you go all the way back now. Just dreaming, drifting, dropping, falling. Just dreaming, drifting, dropping, falling. Just dreaming, drifting, dropping, falling, going all the way back. That's right, you're doing really well. Just let yourself go all the way back. And when you arrive to an event, perhaps around 10 years old, I want you to just give me a nod so we know that you're there. So what I'm going to get you to do, if there is anything that is deeply and truly personal, you can actually say personal, and I don't have to hear it. But if you are willing to share what you are seeing or experiencing right now, if you can verbalize that, just so we get a sense of it.
It's just, it's grade 5 class. I'd killed a bug with a book, and then the teacher grabbed the thing and hit me with it, and I wound up with bug parts smeared all over my shirt, and I freaked. And I ran into a part of the class that everybody laughed, and it was unbelievably humiliating and very painful.
Okay.
And that's where it began.
Okay, so you felt incredibly humiliated at that particular time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what I want you to do is begin to move around this event, begin to get a sense of all the things that were going on, perhaps the people in the event that you could recall looking at you, perhaps the teacher, perhaps seeing the book, the bug swished all over you, and just getting a sense of this. Now you felt incredibly humiliated in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the emotional point of this, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
It was humiliation that was really driving your feelings. And what I want you to do now is I want you to rise up above it. So just rise up above it. So in this context, there was something to learn. And I want you to imagine yourself moving into quite an ascended place. It's almost a place that the emotion of it begins to disappear, So you can see it for what it really was. See, sometimes emotion colors our vision, distorts our view and fabricates our feelings, of course. And with fabricated feelings and distorted views, it's really difficult to get the lessons or the learnings from things. But now that all of that is vanishing and you are getting clearer and clearer, moving to that ascended place, that learning place, I want you to look at this event and I want you to get the learning. Because while you're getting the learning, it's very important to know that success is paved with failure. That is, you need to fall down in order to build the strength in your legs, to know that falling down hurts. So what we do as a learning is we build the muscles in our legs as a baby to ensure that we don't fall down again. So it's almost natural for us to learn through what some might deem as failure. But it's not failure. In fact, the only time you fail is when you stop and quit. Failure doesn't exist, it's an illusion. But this event, you were supposed to learn something from it. So I want you now to begin to get the lesson. What did you learn now that you look at it from this event?
A lot of it just had to do with standing up and saying, I refuse to let you treat me like this anymore. This was a long-standing pattern.
Okay.
It triggered the belief I'm stupid, and after that, I failed my way through school.
Okay, so this was a teacher, so therefore an authority figure, yes?
Yes, and I've had tremendous trouble with authority figures.
Okay, and this might be the beginning of that pattern of having issues with authority figures, but equally in the context of people taking money away from you, that means that you must put them in some sort of level of authority in order to take away money from you, like you have no rights. Does that make sense?
It does. There were a number of incidents where that happened. There's another one.
I don't want you to go to any others. I just want you to stay with this one first.
It just triggered the belief that I'm stupid.
Okay.
And after that's when I started failing. I failed repeatedly all the way through school.
Right. This is quite typical. Many people will experience exactly that. An event will happen, they'll make a decision that they're stupid, and therefore they will then play out life as if they're stupid. When in fact, I know you to the degree that I know that you're certainly far from stupid. However, you believed back then that you were stupid. Do you get a sense that there is a learning here? I want you to get a learning here. There's another one, isn't there?
It keeps coming back to the standpoint of standing up to these people and saying, enough. I refuse to allow this to happen anymore.
Yeah.
I let them bully me. And this went on all the time when I was at that school. I just let them keep bullying me. I fought back, but it wasn't enough.
So this is that real moment where you can draw that line in the sand and say, this is enough. This doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
So really, this is a lesson, perhaps, I don't know, but perhaps in leadership, that this might have been the beginning of your lesson into leadership. You know, standing up, making a stand, stopping authority figures from hurting you or harming you or treating you as if you are stupid, or perhaps even you treating you as if you are stupid.
Well, I internalized it.
Okay, so what I want you to do now is I want you to get a sense of this. I want you to get a sense of these learnings going in. Just get a sense of these learnings going in. And I want you to state these learnings very simply in a sentence so that both you and I absolutely know what these learnings are. So what are the learnings specifically?
My number one regret about that time was really wishing that I'd asked for lessons in self-defense. It was offered and I didn't take it, and that was my biggest regret. Okay.
Now, we don't want to just be sitting with regrets as learnings, do we? Because that's not really a learning, is it?
Maybe not.
Okay, so I want you to get those lessons. Now, by the way, while Nathan is doing this, it is always really important at this juncture that your client actually gets a real positive learning. And he's thrown out some, but my sense is he's kind of forgotten what the learnings were. I'm not going to help him with this. I'm going to let him get those learnings again, because it's often better when you let your clients get those learnings rather than telling them what those learnings could be. Sometimes you can hint at it, and I'll often do that in a coaching session if a person's stuck, but I like it when they get the learnings themselves. So I'm going to let you keep going until you absolutely get the learnings. Now, what I'm also looking for, I'm watching Nathan, I'm looking for facial changes. I'm looking for shifts as well as I'm speaking and taking him through this process. So tell me, what is the learning that you now get, Nathan, with this event?
It's just a demand for everything to stop. It, like it feels weird to say it, but I demand to be respected enough. And just saying to, I mean, I didn't know then what I know now, but it would be a demand to take me out of this damn school. I've had enough.
Okay, so why do you believe that you need to be respected?
Because if I'm respected, the abuse will stop.
Okay, I want a better reason than that.
If I have the respect, then it gives me the strength to do what I really need to do. And I guess if I'm really going to be honest, I don't need the respect from them. I need it for myself. I need to I just wish I'd been more resourceful. I didn't know how.
Well, you were only 10 years old.
True. I just wish I would have yelled louder.
Okay. So it's a demand.
Not about respect necessarily, just to stop doing this to me, stop using me as a target.
Okay. Now, what I'm doing is I'm pushing Nathan further, because how he gets respect is still outside of himself. I want him to tell me why he deserves respect. And it's got to be inner, not external, because you can't control the external, but you can control the inside.
It just comes down to the simple thing. If I had respect, then the abuse would stop. But the only thing that I realize now from going back and thinking about it many times over the years, if I'd known how to fight, I would have been able to stop it. I didn't know how to fight. I didn't know how to protect myself.
Equally so, though, Nathan. If you learned how to fight, you could equally be in prison right now.
Yeah, maybe.
So is that the solution?
I always thought it was.
Well, you might have back then, because my guess is that you had a lot of anger back then.
It's true.
But a person who fights with a lot of anger becomes a dangerous person. Not only that, that dangerous person is a danger not only to others, but to themselves. In fact, you could have ended up in prison, couldn't you? You could have killed somebody.
That's true. And I was angry enough to do it.
Yeah. So that's not the answer. So I want you now to go up to a wiser place, because there is a lesson here for you. So go up even higher. I want you to go to the wiser space, and I want you to see it, as if you were looking through God's eyes, Muhammad's eyes, Allah's eyes, Buddha's eyes, the universe's eyes, whatever is your deity or the highest self. I want you to begin to see it with true wisdom. There was a very important lesson here for you, because this was a significant event.
It just comes down to something else that I did at one time. And that was just to walk away, to stop fighting back, to stop trying to get things to happen, just to leave and keep leaving and keep leaving and keep leaving. That's all I can think of, really.
Yeah. But my guess is that's what you've been doing in your life.
True.
You've been running away. You've been leaving.
Yeah,
is that necessarily going to get you there? Fight could get you in prison. Leaving could have you end up in Mexico. Yeah?
Couldn't think of a better solution. I just didn't know of one.
Yeah, okay.
I just didn't know of one.
Now, I want you to go right into, what do you believe in, God, Muhammad, Allah, Buddha, universe? What is your particular belief? While Nathan is about to answer me, one thing that's really important is you must respect your client's spiritual side, and equally not spiritual side. So it is really important not to put your beliefs into your client, but let your client come up with what is true for them. So what do you believe in ultimately?
It's not really a belief. It happened, years ago. I did a lot of spiritual practice. I went through. Simply,
what do you believe in? What is the bigger something?
Well, it's just very simple. I call it the one.
The one.
Yeah, the one. That's
Excellent. So what I want you to do is I want you to imagine your energy going into the oneness. Go into the one. I want you to imagine in this moment that you can actually see what the one can see. Now, you know that even things that look terrible actually have purpose and reason and value. Even things that look terrible. Like, for example, the only way you can get courage is to put incredible fear in front of one. And the only way you get courage is to move through fear. So you can't get courage any other way but to be able to build yourself to a degree that you can move through, and you can get courage only after you move through fear.
Great.
So the one would know this. So in this event, it looks terrible, but it's not. There is something that was perhaps even designed for you. Maybe this is one of many lessons to tell you, to show you, to teach you something that you needed to get. And when you get it, you ascend. So what is the lesson that you didn't get back then that you now get now?
It's just the courage to say to people, it just keeps coming down to the word enough. And I don't have any simple answers. I'm sorry, but I feel stuck, and I don't mean to be, but I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's good. For everyone watching this right now, this is the core of the problem, because Nathan is stuck at this level. He can only see this event as problematic. It's deep in his unconscious. And because it is deep in his unconscious and he can't see it another way, the problem is still there. It's still persisting. So what we've got to do is we've got to be patient. We're going to just keep working with him until he gets it. But you do not leave your client here. You make sure that they really get it. Sometimes you can prompt, sometimes you can give them little words or little insights, but don't give them the whole picture. So what I want you to do is I want you to begin to see this. Now, you said enough, that you drew a line in the sand. You said enough. You put a stake in the ground. You go, enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
But who do you have to be in order to say enough?
Strong. Just strong. Just to have enough confidence to say enough, and to, I'm not even sure how to make it happen, but just to say enough and just keep saying enough.
Okay, so what I want you to do now is I want you to take in that lesson, that learning, that you have the strength to be able to say to someone enough, and say it without malice, and say it without anger, but say it certainly with determination, and certainly with courage and strength. And when you are that person, so now we're going to do a little test. So what I want you to do is I want you to take in these learnings very deeply, very deeply. And as you take in these learnings, I want you to imagine yourself moving about an hour before the event even occurred. So just see yourself with your hands out front, but with a picture in your hands of the event and your feet out behind, just like Superman, you know, way above the event, kind of looking down at the picture and looking down at the event. And in a moment, not now, I'm going to count from 3 to 1. And when we get to 1, you'll drop that photo and just let it go. Are you ready? Excellent. So 3, preserve the learnings in the special place where all special learnings are kept. Allow these learnings almost to go into your neurology, very deep in your neurology, beginning to create new neurological pathways that tell you that you are strong, that you are courageous, that you will not put up with being treated badly in any way, shape, manner, or form. You deserve respect. You deserve to be treated well. In fact, every person on the planet deserves respect and to be treated well. Perhaps even people that we might even deem bad. You know, perhaps they keep being bad because we keep treating them badly. So everybody deserves a level of respect and certainly kindness and consideration. And as you begin to get a sense that these learnings are building these new neural pathways, that you are a good person, that you are a strong person, that you are also a kind yet courageous person. And as you allow these new neural connections beginning to connect to old neural connections, therefore vanquishing those old ideas, letting those old ideas about who you were dissipate, disappear, and just fading away. As 2, you begin to see a new and wondrous world emerging, where you begin to see a new Nathan, new courageous Nathan. And you get a sense of what life will be like now, because this is a decision point. This is the moment that you decide, enough. My life changes from here. I will see the world differently from here. I will be stronger from here. I will be more courageous from here. And 1, just drop that photo and let it go down, 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 down. And when it's completely gone, just give me a nod. Excellent. So what I want you to do while you're way up above the event, I want you to imagine that there's an umbilical cord that connects you to the event, almost like an etheric cord, a wispy, smoky connection that connects you to the event energetically. But it's now time to detach. So I want you to imagine you've got a knife, a pair of scissors, or a sword in your hand, and just cut those cords. If there's more than one, or just the one, and just let them all just disappear. And just let them all just stream and drift and drop and fall and disappear away from you now. And I want you now to allow yourself to go back down to the event. And I want you to notice, how has it changed? So going all the way back down to the event, and notice how it has changed. So tell me, how has it changed?
Everything's frozen in time. There's no movement. All the figures have turned like grayscale.
Okay. And what do you get a sense about the event now?
The number one thing is that I didn't push hard enough for myself. To really get what I needed, I just didn't push hard enough. It's been the same pattern. I see it in other places too, but that's where it began. I didn't push hard enough.
Okay. So now you have some clarity that what you've been doing is pushing, but not pushing hard enough to make things work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. And that's an excellent insight into this event. Now, I want you to begin to notice how you feel about this event. How do you feel about this event now?
Bit of relief.
Excellent. And it's good to feel the relief, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's been sitting in your unconscious for a long, long time. And now feeling the relief from it. Okay, excellent. So what I want you to do now that you feel your relief, I want you to rise up above now. So go ahead and rise up above now. So now, folks, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking for another event. Usually there's a cluster of them. So I'm going to let Nathan just begin to move around his timeline. However, I'm going to frame it again, just so his neurology is really clear for what he's looking for. So what I want you to do is I want you to move along your timeline to go to the very, very source of your money problems, the very source of pushing money away or not letting yourself accumulate it. I want you to go to the very source and trust your unconscious. Just let your unconscious take you to the source of that. And when you're there, just give me a nod. Excellent. So also, folks, you can do this on the phone, but you wouldn't ask, give me a nod. You would just simply say, when you're there, tell me I'm there. And so now what I want you to do, if it's not too personal, I want you to share what are you getting a sense of as you move around this event? What do you see?
It was an event. Did some work on it before, but it comes up again. It had to do with a fight. I was angry with my father. I was working in the store, and I became very angry at the way he was treating me, and I kept leaving, walking away. And one day it triggered a fight, and he screamed at me in front of the whole store, "You're a worthless piece of shit, and you will never amount to anything as long as you live." And that was devastating. He did some work on it, but that's what comes up again.
Okay, so obviously you didn't get right into it and shift this completely. So, no. Okay, so how old are you at this particular event?
16.
Okay, so 16, so you're at working age. And so you're working in your father's store and he throws an identity claim at you. So what I want you to do now is I want you to begin again to circle up above this. So rise way, way above this. So as you're rising above this, I want you to begin to move into the learning position. So allow yourself to move into the learning position. And I want you to look down at the event. But this time I want you to begin to see the lesson, see the learning of this particular event. This is when you need to be patient and just listen.
Well, the word courage comes up again, and the need to say to my father, "I refuse to let you treat me like this anymore. Okay. If you cannot and will not treat me with respect, I am not going to work for you ever again." And have the courage to stand out and say, "I'm leaving. And if you do want to talk to me, at some point you need to treat me with respect. You need to treat me as an equal. I will not allow you to do this ever again."
Okay, you've been wanting to say that for a long time, haven't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And now that you've said it, now that your father has heard it, I want you to get a sense of how he is reacting and responding to what you've just said.
Quite a bit of shock on his face.
Okay, because he never expected you to stand up for yourself like that with courage and strength, did he?
No.
Okay. So now what I want you to do is, now that you've said that to your father, and you can see the shock on his face, because he, of course, probably was told by his father similar things, and maybe his father and his father and his father. This is the moment.
No, it was his mother. I saw it happen once.
Okay.
I know where it came from.
Okay.
I have no doubt.
Excellent. So he was told by his mother. So these things are often genealogical. They go through generations, learning from one to another. But this is where it stops. This is where the genealogical pattern ends. And you're the one that has ended it. So now that you have ended it, now that your father is shocked, because he's not even aware consciously of his patterns, I want you to begin to look at your father. I want you to begin to see that he too was once a little boy, just like you, that was probably treated just like you are treated by your father. So I want you to get a sense of this. I want you to get a sense that he's now shocked by your reaction. And he's probably even shocked by what he said to you now that you've made him recall it. And I want you to get a sense of this poor man who has just been woken up. I want you to begin to see what is his emotion now. What is he feeling now?
A lot of sadness.
Yeah, because you're his son, after all. So what I want you to do is, I want you to do what any good son, any courageous son might do in this moment. And that is, I want you to imagine now giving him a hug.
Actually, I did something even more valuable when he was dying. I did something that shocked everybody in the room. I got up, I walked over, I sat down on the floor by my father with the back to the room, my back to the room. I reached up, I touched him in the center of his heart, and I said to him, "Dad, how are you?"
Because both you and your father have been feeling this. And this has been that generational pattern, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Because in truth, all we really want from our parents, all we really want from our children is love. That's all we really want, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So in this moment, when your father has been shocked by your response, I want you now to give him a hug. So just imagine you are now giving him a hug. Maybe the two of you are both releasing and letting all of this go, because this has been going on for far too long, for far too many generations. And in this moment, the two of you are really getting that this is a breaking point. This is a fork in the road. This is a turn. This is a transformation. It may mean from this point forward that loving relationships are born in your family. Perhaps in other lifetimes, maybe, perhaps even in this one. And so as you get a sense of this, you begin to see that the learning is to stand up for yourself. But stand up without anger. Stand up with respect and leadership. And as you begin to do that, you get a sense of this particular event beginning to shift and change. So now what I'd like you to do is allow yourself to go about an hour before this event even occurred. I want you to imagine seeing yourself moving about an hour before this event even occurred, seeing a picture in your hands out in front of you of the event, And looking further down, you can actually see the event. And your feet out behind. In a moment, not now, I'm going to count from 3, 2, 1. Are you ready? Okay, so 3, preserve these learnings. Preserve these learnings in the special place where all special learnings are kept. And allowing now to add even further to that new neurological connection that sits within your neurology, not just in your head, but equally in your heart. And calming your gut brain, calming all the fear, releasing all the fear in your gut brain. Feeling your heart brain begin to be filled with love and kindness. And your head brain knowing quite clearly that you have all the neurology to be clever, to be smart, to be intelligent, to be wise. And all 3 brains are purely aligned. And you can begin to get a sense that as these learnings go deeper, you might see them swelling in color as these learnings come into you, pulsing, shifting, changing how you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself, how you know yourself, and from this point on, how you hear yourself. And as you begin to do this, you begin to notice that you are now back an hour before it even happened with the picture in your hands, and 2, beginning to see the world in new and wondrous ways. Beginning to see this event in new and wondrous ways. Feeling the shifts, feeling the changes, like the tide pulling away what doesn't need to be there and bringing to you the gifts of what takes its place. And allowing yourself, 1, just drop the photo and just let it go down, 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 down. And when it's completely gone, just give me a nod. Excellent, good job. So what I want you to do now is I want you to go back down to the event and begin to notice how wonderfully it's changed. And as you're heading down there, just cut away any etheric connections to that old feeling, that old event, just with a pair of scissors or a knife or a sword. Just cut it all away as you go all the way back down to the event. So tell me, how has it changed?
Huge. I see myself embracing my father. I see him saying to me, I've always loved you. This time, and saying to him, this is all I ever wanted from you. Not your money, not your wealth, not anything, just nothing else. It's all I ever wanted.
And that's a beautiful response, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in a way, your father was part of you and you were part of him.
Yeah.
And so when you heal at your level, you somehow heal him at his level. And so the healings go wide and far. Awesome. So what I want you to do now is give your father another hug and prepare yourself to move on and progress from this event. And know too well that you are also, even though he's passed, you are healing him at a deep, deep level. And my guess is he thanks you for it immensely. Excellent. And now rise up above the event. And as you rise up above the event, I want you to begin to see yourself as you truly are. As you rise up without anger, without malice, without regret, you see yourself rise up way, way above this event. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like your unconscious to just move around. Should there be another event, should there be any other event, just allow your unconscious to take you there. Now, if there is no more events without charge, then you will find yourself in the present, and you will merely say the word present. But should
Present.
Okay, so there are no other events.
No,
Excellent.
that was enough. That was the root.
Awesome. So what I want you to do now is I want you to allow yourself the magic unfold as you move into your future, as you very easily move into your future. In fact, I would like you just to move 24 hours. I want you to begin to see what you never saw before 24 hours from now. What do you get a sense of? What can you see? What can you feel? What do you know?
A lot of it just has the courage to say no, and the courage to say yes when I know I need to say yes.
Yeah. And it's your right and it's your responsibility to determine how you engage with people. And you can say yes and you can say no, and respectfully. And if someone is hurt when you say no, you equally have the opportunity to be able to explain why you're saying no, or just simply request for them to accept that no is no.
Yeah.
And that is a position of strength and leadership and wisdom. And now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to move about a week from now, having seen yourself in a much better space, in a more attractive and magnetic space, a much more positive space, a space where healings have occurred. I want you to begin to see what happens over time. So what happens a week from now that all of this has been resolved? Give me a sense of what you think could happen a week from now.
Just more engaged with life. This was huge. I didn't know, but this is what I was looking for. It's hard to explain. Just more open. Just more open. That's about it.
And that's a good result. So what I want you to do now is move much further now. I want you to imagine yourself, it is now a year from now, a complete year from now. And I want you to begin to notice all of the shifts and changes that occurred in an entire year as a result of you showing up very differently now. So tell me, what do you get a sense of that has happened a year from now?
Well, one thing is real healing within the family, and even just more healing in me, just coming to peace with a lot of stuff. Just a lot more relaxed, not so, just relaxed, because I've been really emotionally, mentally sick with this for decades. And it mostly feels like that, and just finally being able to live in the way that I really want to live. And one thing I've been saying repeatedly is I want my life back. And 1 year from now, I can see myself having pretty much all of it back and more.
Excellent. So now I'd like to do this one more time. But this time I'd like you to imagine yourself moving 5 years from now. 5 years from now. You've been living life, experiencing it fully, enjoying moments, enjoying connections. And life has put a smile on your face. You know, most days you are pretty content and joyful. You know, perhaps even gleefully happy.
Yeah.
So I want you to begin to see yourself now 5 years from now, having experienced this again and again and again and again, creating a whole new pattern in your life. So tell me, what do you get a sense of happens 5 years from now?
Well, still more or less in the same place where I am right now. I mean, I'm in a town that I like very much. Still here, just in a place of my own with Patricia with me. Yeah, work is going really well, making a difference with people, helping people. All of that just, but here in this place. I mean, it's funny, they call this place the Golden Zone. That's part of where I am. Yeah, it's my favorite place, and it's just, this is where I am.
Yeah, excellent. So in a moment, not now, I'm going to get you now to come back to the present. So I'm going to count from 5 to 1. And I'm going to do this very slowly because I want this to be permanent and I want this to be deep. So I'm going to do this very gently. So 5, I want you to allow all of these new ideas, these new resonances, these new feelings, these new vibrations, these new neural connections. I want you to begin to feel them finding their resting place within your body, finding yourself at peace, very easily breathing it in. And each time you breathe, the learnings go deeper and the neurology becomes ever more permanent. Each time you take a breath and breathe in and breathing out, breathing in and breathing out. Good job. And 4, beginning to allow yourself to begin to see a new, prosperous future. And it may not be money. It may be money and it may be energy. It may be feeling. Because at the end of the day, if you think about it, most people aim to be rich to feel rich. But the truth is you can feel rich now. And allowing yourself to feel the wealth of all of your wisdoms. And all of your wisdoms have the potential to create whatever you choose. And maybe it is just about making enough money. Maybe it's not about becoming extremely wealthy or any of those things. Maybe it's just about making enough money and keeping enough money to do the things that you enjoy. And knowing that there is no stresses, no concerns, that you can live every single moment of every single day being present and not preoccupied with the past or fearing the future, but being very, very present and allowing yourself to begin to really hear people's conversations and really see the connections and what people are feeling and sensing and being ever present and centered and grounded. However, having in the air ideas and thoughts, and you know that an idea and a thought can create incredible opportunities for you. And you have many ideas and many thoughts, and equally you are very pragmatic and practical, and you can bring those ideas and thoughts down into fundamental opportunities to help you, perhaps even to help many, many others. So as you begin to now 3, feel freedom starting to cycle through your body and the true essence of freedom. The freedom to know that you can choose, the freedom to know that you can be whatever you choose to be, the freedom to be kind, the freedom to be connected, the freedom to be loved, and the freedom to give love. The freedom to create opportunities for you, the freedom to create income if you want it, the freedom to create whatever you choose. And 2, beginning to get a sense that it just sometimes feels far too good to be true. But the truth is, it is true if you make it. And you can truly make your life whatever you choose. Now that you are awake, now that you are conscious, now that you are in charge, you are the leader of your own life. And now opening your eyes very gently, very slowly at one, being at one, feeling the one, and coming all the way back very gently. Good job. Good job. How do you feel?
Well, better, for sure, but certainly not what I thought at all.
You thought you were going to go somewhere else, did you?
Yeah, of course. I had this idea completely off, but that's okay. I didn't realize how much. Well, I knew actually about this for a long time, but I didn't realize until we went into it. And the bit of courage, I mean, there were different times where I had a lot of courage with my father. There was one instant, again, shortly before he died, and I stood up to him and I literally grabbed his arm, and I would not let go, and I would not allow him to force me into submission. And he walked away from me, not the other way around. But when he was dying, I remember sitting on the floor, touching him on the heart, asking him how he was, and all the chatter in the room stopped. And it was just him and me, and everybody else left. And it was like that, but it was still very hard. I kept losing my courage around him. But I did have the courage to say a lot of the things I needed to say to him before he died.
Yeah. Very brave work there, dude.
Didn't see it coming.
Well, the thing is that I guess I'm talking to Nathan and I'm talking to you. Timeline is one of those experiences that you never quite know what's going to come up. As a practitioner, your job is to create the safest space, the most trusting space that you can for your client, the person you're working with. I still find it hard to call them clients. I quite often see them as friends. But the thing is that what you're doing is you're just trusting in the process to do the work that is most important to do. Sometimes even the intentional, what the client is looking for to achieve from it, they might not get that. They might actually get something more profound. They might get something bigger, deeper, or maybe even less. But it's just merely a case of trusting the process. Typically what you do is I like to check in with my clients. I like checking in with my clients about 24 hours after a session, just to make sure that they're good, they're fine, nothing negative is coming from it. Very seldom, I mean, when I say very seldom, I'm sure it happens. It hasn't happened to any one of my clients, but I'm sure it does happen from time to time. So your 24-hour thing is just to check, just to make sure that they are fine, because you don't want any negative reaction and you don't want to put your client in any sort of, stress. Now, I know I've been teaching this to you. However, one thing that I highly recommend you do is don't try this yourself, because I'm a trained practitioner. I know exactly what I'm doing here. I highly recommend you learn neuro-linguistic programming to learn this technique fully, so you know all the backstory and understand why I'm doing certain things. But I wanted to really evidence to you and show you what it can actually do. The things that I certainly saw was, if you flip back to the very beginning of this video and look at Nathan's face, and then you zoom back to this part, you'll see that Nathan looks quite different now. And that's something that I've witnessed quite often at the end of a session. So that's enough from me. I think you're probably more interested in, what Nathan's thinking right now. So are you okay to share a little bit about what you're thinking as a result of doing this technique?
was just really surprised more than anything else. I mean, I knew the energy charge between me and my father was a major, very serious problem, but I thought in a lot of ways I'd dealt with it, partly because he had died a very long time ago. I did not realize how it was affecting me, and especially to do with the money story. I mean, like I said, I did do some work around that before, but it's what came up again. And even before you guided me into the session, I knew exactly where I needed to go. And it was really obvious. Even before you said a word, I knew I was already on the journey because we've done this before. And I knew exactly where to go before you even said any words at all.
Yeah.
I was just very surprised that it would produce such a result. I didn't see it coming. No way.
Yeah.
No. I didn't realize that that moment was so pivotal, and then the other things around it.
So one thing that you guys don't know is that I've taught this technique to Nathan. Nathan has done this himself a number of times. And you can actually do the process to yourself, and sometimes it's often better to get someone else to do it to you, because when you're doing it to yourself, it's difficult to see some of the things that you might see as a practitioner when you're the client. So it's often better for someone else to do it to you. And I equally do this process on myself, but I still have a coach, and I much prefer my coach to do it to me because, I have a spiritual coach, and I also have a personal life coach and a business coach. And my coaches all have different reasons for doing different things to me, or helping me. So my spiritual coach is more about helping me to ascend as a person and do better work, and serve humanity better. My business coach helps me to make sure that I'm doing the right thing with my business, that I'm growing it, that I'm growing my people. And then my life coach is more for my personal stuff, the stuff that might be troubling me or the stuff that I really want to get beyond. Now, by the way, a lot of people say, are you still getting a coach given you've been doing this for 19 years? I go, look, you always, if you really want to keep growing, you'll have coaches for the rest of your life, in truth, if you want to keep growing and evolving yourself. If you don't, that's okay. Don't have a coach. So, I really think it's better quite often to have someone else work with you because they can see the things that you can't see sometimes. So, is that the end, do you think?
For now, yeah. There was one other thing that popped up, which it feels like this was really the source of so much of my anger.
I think so.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. I forget exactly when I realized that, but this is why I've been so angry for so long.
Yeah.
It's not what I thought, what we spoke about earlier. It's not that. No. It was this. This was the real problem.
Yeah.
Everything else, it's, how do I put it? It has to do with layering. You think that the layers are maybe the problem, but it's the root. It's always that, whatever that is. And today it felt like we hit that major root for me.
Fantastic. Typically what you find, folks, is that when you're working with someone, don't be too concerned if you're working with someone and you don't actually get to the core problem. It's often because, as Nathan was sharing there, you haven't actually gotten to the root cause. You might get to a cause, but not the actual root cause, the beginning of the problem. So sometimes you will work with a client a few times to get to that. And sometimes one session and you've gotten to the actual core of it. I think that this will impact Nathan in probably some subtle ways, and there may well be some quite profound ways that may occur. But at the end of the day, that's often your ego talking, that you want to see a massive, big shift. You want to see him turn into a millionaire or something tomorrow. But that's your ego talking. Sometimes people just want to feel better about who they are, and it's not really about the money or anything like that in this case. However, what we'll do is we'll connect up with Nathan again. I'll let Nathan contact me when he feels that he's got enough insight from what this process has helped him to achieve, and then he wants to share it with you. And then we'll reconnect up, we'll edit this video and put that now.
It's Nathan here, and I wanted to do a follow-up video about how I've been feeling since our session. And there are two keywords that came up right at the end of our session, and those two words are self-respect. And I realized that with all the stuff I've been going through over the years, that I really hadn't respected myself much. And after the session, I started thinking about, what can I do to improve that, to rebuild that in my life? And since then, I've been facing life more directly than I have for many years. And the other thing, too, that came up is one of the reasons I didn't get the results I needed is because I gave up too soon, and that I didn't believe in myself. And when I look back, the root cause for this thing is being impatient, and which is something that's tripped me up repeatedly. And I really got to see that very clearly for the first time many years ago when I went to art school. I gave myself permission to actually start learning to put the impatience aside and to actually get into the task of learning how to draw, learning how to paint. And that's when I made a major discovery. I discovered, actually, that I had all the talent that I ever needed. And that my only problem is that I was too impatient. But if I gave myself to the task and I just let myself do what needed to be done, and I didn't try to rush it, I could get all the results I needed and then some. And it's the same with what's been going on in recent years. And by giving myself the permission to do what's necessary, I can get the results that I'm after. That's it.